Hi, welcome back to Monday's Funday at Wood Library. I'm Mrs. Ferris, and today we're going to have two crafts that you can try after we have our story. But first, let's see if you can guess what our theme is. Now, you might get an idea from looking at the books behind me, but I'll give you a clue. It's about an animal, and that animal has no legs. Do you think you know what it is? I'll give you another clue. It's not one of my favorite animals because they're very wiggly. And no, it's not about a worm. Our stories today and our crafts are going to be about snakes. So let's get started. Our book is called Boa's Bad Birthday. It's written by Jeanne Willis with illustrations by Tony Ross. And it's published by Anderson Press. This is Boa. He's got his birthday hat on, but he's not looking very happy. Well, it was Boa's birthday, and it was going to be the best one ever. Or so he hoped. He invited his friends. They would all bring wonderful presents. Or would they? Orangutan was the first to arrive, and his present was enormous. "Oh, please don't let it be what I think it is," said Boa, looking at the package. But it was. It was a piano. Well, Boa couldn't play it. He had no fingers. "It's the thought that counts," said his mother. Orangutan clearly hadn't thought very hard, but maybe Monkey had. He was clever. Or was he? His parcel looked very interesting. "You'll love it," said Monkey. But Boa didn't. It was a pair of sunglasses. "Everyone's wearing them," said Monkey. But Boa wasn't. They kept slipping off. He had no ears to hold them on. "Thanks," said Boa. "They're lovely." But secretly, he was deeply disappointed. "Third time lucky," whispered his mother. Well, Jaguar arrived with a neat package. "I hope you like them," he said. Boa hoped so too. He could hardly wait to unwrap it. "I thought they'd be useful," said Jaguar. But they weren't. They were mittens. "Do you like the color?" asked Jaguar. My favorite," said Boa. But what he really wanted to say was, "Why buy me mittens? Are you crazy? I have no hands." But that would have been rude. And it was kind of his friends to get him anything. Perhaps Sloth's gift would be more suitable. But it wasn't. It was a hairbrush. "It's a very good one," insisted Sloth. But it was no good for Boa. He had no hair. "Open my parcel," said Anteater. "You'll have great fun with it." But Boa didn't, because it was a soccer ball. It was no fun at all because Boa couldn't kick it. He had no feet. Well, it was Boa's worst birthday ever. All his gifts were, well, I hate to say it, rubbish. He couldn't use any of them. And just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, "Dung Beetle's here," said his mother. "Oh, I bet her present is a pile of you-know-what," thought Boa. Do you know what? What kind of a gift do you think a dung beetle would bring? Well, it depends on whether you know what the word dung means. Dung is another name for poop. So Dung brought a big ball of poop. Boa was right, but he was also wrong, because in the dung ball there was a seed. And when it rained, it sprouted. And it grew, and grew, and it grew into a beautiful tree. Oh, it was a perfect present for a boa. It was the right size, the right shape, and it suited Boa all the way down to the ground. It was just what he'd always wanted. I don't know if you can see, but he's up in the tree. There's his head. That might be his mom's head, and there's his head over there. But they blend right in, don't they? So, if you ever get a present that stinks, say thank you, because it might turn out to be the best present ever. And look here. Do you know what's in that present for this boy? A boa. All right, well, I'm going to get ourselves set up here to do our craft, and I'll be right back. So, see you in a little bit. So for our first craft, we're going to make a snake that's a twirly snake. Looks like this. So let me show you what you'll need. If you need to, then you can stop the video, gather your supplies, and then come back and we'll make it. First thing you're going to need is a paper plate. And flimsy ones are even better than the ones that will hold your food real well. So any kind of paper plate will work. You're going to need some markers, black ones, and then also some colored markers. Or you can use stickers or something else to color or crayons to color your plate. You're going to need scissors, a piece of red paper for its tongue, a couple of Google eyes. These are about, maybe a ½ inch in size. You'll need some glue, some tape, some string, a piece maybe about 12 or 14 inches long. Did I say a pencil? I don't remember. And I also have a ruler, because when I did my snake, I decided to make it a striped one, so I used a ruler to draw the stripes. And the other thing I think is always good to have is some scrap paper. This is a piece of newspaper that you can put down and use as your work surface, because one of the things that I like about both of the projects we're doing today, we're going to use markers, but we're going to kind of go off the edge of our pattern or a piece that we're working on, just so we are sure that the colors go edge to edge. And if you have something like some newspaper down in front of you, you can go over the edge. It won't matter at all. You won't mess up your table or whatever you might be working on. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my snake shape. So when I take my paper plate, I can see that there's a ridge around the outside that is a bumpy edge. So I'm going to start way over at one edge, and I'm going to draw a spiral, because that's really what this snake is. I'll show him again. It's a spiral, starting here and going around and around and around, and you almost finish it. Leave a little bit at the end for his head. Does this make you dizzy? So I'm going to start on the back side of my paper plate, and I'm going to use my pencil because I can adjust it before I use the big marker to mark it down. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to go up till I get to the top of those bumps, and then I'm going to go around the outside, and when I get to the point where I meet up where I first went up, I'm kind of going off of my mark here, so that's when I will start going up. And try and keep about the same distance, about an inch, I think. Can you see? Maybe if I go over it. When I finish, I'm going to go over it with a marker so you can see. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but I have done one with the lines drawn on it. So it looks like that. And I'm also going to, what I did was I covered the pencil with marker so that I could see where to cut. And I'm also going to go around the outside edge of mine. So it has a black border. And that's when I'm going to use this newspaper. So I'll just go right around the outside edge with my big black marker. Like that. Okay. And then you can decide what kind of a pattern you want, whether you want to have stripes like I did on my original one, whether you want to have polka dots, whether you want squiggles, whether you want to have some kind of a pattern like squares or diamonds or triangles, whatever you want, it's your snake. So go ahead and decorate it. So when I did mine, I used a ruler. And I just started at one side and I kind of did a pattern with it so that I had, I think I used 4 colors. I used red and green and blue and yellow. So I did red, green, blue, yellow, red, green, blue, yellow. And the only place I did not have the stripe going all the way across was when I got to this head. I can show you that again. I left that plain because I thought it might look a little strange. So I would get to here with my line and then I'd jump over to here to draw it. Here, down. Here, stop at the head, and continue on. So I'll start doing this and then we'll jump ahead. You don't need to see me making all of my stripes. So I got to the part where the head is. So just to illustrate it again, for my next color, which is, let's see here, yellow, I'm going to draw a yellow line to here and stop where the head is, and then continue it on the other side. If you mess up and you don't do it that way, it's your snake. You can do it however you want, but I wanted my snake's head to show better. So that's why I was skipping that. So when you got it all decorated however you wanted, put your markers away and get your scissors out because now you're going to cut on the black line all the way around and you're going to stop where your line stops. So when it's all cut out, looks like a big long spiral. You're going to need something to poke a hole in his head. Poor snake. And you're going to want to do that right about even with where your cutting and your drawing line stopped. This is so you can put a string in there. And then you could hang it, or you could make it a kind of like a kite and run with it. You could use a hole punch. I forgot to bring a hole punch in, so I'm just using a stitch ripper, something to make a little bit of a hole. You could even use your scissors, but you just want a hole that's big enough to fit your string through. So I'm going to, I tied a knot in one end of the string, and then I'm going to, from the back, thread this through the hole I just made. And I may need to use that poker tool to push the string through the hole. So pull it on through, turn it back over, and you're going to want to tape that down. I made a knot in it so that it won't come through, but if you put some tape on it, the string that's hanging over, that'll be a good way to make sure that it doesn't come apart on you. So I just put, can't even see it, but I put some tape on there, on top of the string. Then your snake needs a tongue. So get that piece of red cardstock or red paper. And if you don't have any red paper, you can draw this on white paper and cut it out. But you're going to want to make kind of like a forked tongue. So I'm going to draw it with my black Sharpie here. And I'm going to draw, let's see, I want it to be about 1.5 inches long. So I'm going to draw it. Not too skinny, because I want to be able to cut it, but like that, to be a forked tongue. Because snakes use their tongues to sense smells and motions, and then cut it out. Like that. Let's see. And then you're going to want to slide that in to where the snake's mouth would be. So you've got your string, let's push that back here. And you've got your snake's head. Oops, making noise here. You've got your snake's head. You're gonna want the tongue to be just about like that. You see what I'm talking about? And you can either use glue or you can use tape, but you wanna be sure that the tongue is on top of all of the layers of your spiral snake. And then you can turn it over. You can, as I said, you can either glue it down or you can put some tape on that as well. I think I'm going to use a little piece of tape. So there's my snake's tongue. So what does he need? He needs his eyes. So you can either use a glue stick. I'm going to use some all-purpose glue, some school glue, I think is what they call it. And just put a dot on his head. Like that. And then put my 2 Google eyes right on there. And I'm going to want to let that dry. If you use, school glue, you'll need to do that too. But pretty much, your snake is done. I always like to tie a knot in the other end so my string won't unravel. Sometimes I do a double knot to make it a little bit bigger to hold on to. Make sure his tongue is up on top. And there's my spiral snake. You can hang this in your room. You could hang it in a window, and it's kind of fun to see the wind blow it. You could take it outside and run with it and see how your snake spins. On a rainy day, you could just twirl in your house with this snake. And you know what? This one doesn't even go hiss. All right, I'm going to be back in a minute. We're going to also make a snake puppet. So take a little break and come back and join me. Well, our second project today is a snake puppet. Now, in the instructions that were online, there was a pattern that you could print off. So you can just click on that, or you can draw your own snake. This one is almost a full sheet of paper, so it's almost 11 inches long, probably about 3 or 4 inches wide. There are 2 tabs that stick out on each side that will wrap around to be on the back of your finger. And then the head, when I look at it, it almost looks like an alien with his arms out, but you're going to have it a circle of sorts, but with little cut-ins on each side because they're going to bend back on each other to form a 3D head. When I printed mine off, I did this one on some green cardstock, a little heavier paper. You could do it on just plain white paper. That works fine. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do this time. I also ran it through my copier on some colored paper, just to have it so I didn't have to color the whole snake. So whatever you decide you want to do is fine. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, well, what I did with mine, I outlined the whole thing with my black marker so that I'd be able to see where the cutting lines were. You can do that if you want, or you can just skip that step and just go along with the lines that are there. I'll do it quickly. So there's my snake all outlined. Then I'm going to decide how I want to decorate it. And as I said before, you can do any kinds of shapes. You can do stripes, you can do dots. I think with this one, I'm going to do lines again, but I'm not going to use a ruler. I'm just going to kind of freehand them. So I'm going to use 2 colors. And as I said before, you can go over the edges of your black lines because you're going to be cutting those off. So I'm just going to go first with my green. And do my lines about 1/4 inch apart. And I'm going to stop right where that upper tab is. Then I'll get my other color. I'm going to use orange this time. And just do a line in between each of those. Looks like orange and green railroad tracks. So you can see that I went over the edges, but that's okay. And then I'm going to do his eyes. Should I give him green insides for his eyes? I think I will. And then, of course, his red tongue. I think my red marker's gotten a little bit of blue on it, so he's got a very dark red tongue. So then I want to cut it out. And make sure when you cut it out, don't cut those tabs off. You're going to need those. So go ahead and cut. I'll be back when mine's all cut out. So now that it's all cut out, all I have to do is put it together. And I'm going to use a glue stick for this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 long tabs and bend them right where they connect up with the body of the snake, like that. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on one side of one end, and then wrap that other side on top of it. So it makes a little loop on the back of the snake, like that. And if you want, you can put a little bit of tape on it just to hold it in place. It's not necessary, but it will keep it more secure. And I guess you could probably just put tape on it to begin with, but I think that the glue stick holds it in place. So now I'm going to do the same with the other part. I'm going to fold it back to the sides of the snake. This one's a little bit angled. And then glue it. You want to be sure that you've got a little loop in there because your finger's going to go in it. Squeeze it together. So now you have 2 loops on the back of your snake. Test it out, see if your finger will fit in there. Mine does. And then you're going to put some glue right on these, what look like alien arms. And then you're going to fold it over. You fold the head over. So I'll make a pencil mark to show you how much glue I'm going to be putting on each one and where it's going to go. Can you see? I'm going to put glue right there, and then fold the head back on it. So my glue is on there. I'm going to fold the head back and pinch it together. And then same with the other side. Fold it back, pinch it together. Again, you can put some tape on it if you want. There's your snake. And what does the snake say? Yes. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed making the snakes. I'd be willing to play with these. Not real ones, though. Come back and join us again next Monday for another Monday is Fun Day. We'll have another story and another fun craft. See you then.